to Lex Reads. So in today's video, I wanted to revisit my required reading for high school and college. And this is back when I was like not a reader at all. Girl, when it came to high school, I barely graduated from high school. If I'm just keeping it real, it was a struggle. I actually had to go to summer school in order to get like one credit. And then like for college, it took me 6 years to get a 4-year degree, but I got it, okay? So I decided to go back and reread, the books from college and high school, and just to see like my different perspectives, from being age, 14 all the way through like 23. And it definitely has changed. So yeah, let's just get started. Let's start off with freshman year. So background, I went to a predominantly white high school. Actually went to predominantly white schools in general. I didn't have a Black instructor until my freshman year of college. So yeah, which is a shame. And then all the books that I read in high school none were Black. They're basically white males. Yeah, so let's just get started. Okay, freshman year, the first book that was required reading was To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. Now, when I first read this in high school, loved it. Now, I don't hate it. This is a masterpiece in American literature, that's what they say. I mean, I still like it. I understand the importance of it, and I understand how it was groundbreaking, especially dealing with, the racial aspects, what else? The human behavior, the, justice system. And when you really think about it, this book came out in, 1960? And when it comes to Black men being incarcerated or accused of something, it's still the same. And again, this was published in 1960, because clearly we know that white woman she was lying to that Black man. I do remember when the sequel came out years later, I got it and read it because I was such a fan of this in high school. And that second book, she actually made the dad he had a little racist undertone. And if you do read it, he is insinuating that he actually didn't believe, what's the Black man's name? Lord, I forgot his name. Jim, I think. Yeah, he's basically insinuating that he actually really didn't believe Jim, and he got a little racist undertone. But yeah, rereading this again, it's like, I do understand why I liked it as a young person, but as an adult, it don't really do nothing for me. Okay, next, which is Lord horrible. The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Could not stand this book. English was my first period in 9th grade, and I had a teacher, Lord. Me, another boy, and a girl, and I remember that boy, he ended up leaving. But at the time, it was three Black students in the class, 3 Black students in the class. And this book has the N-word over 100 times, and when she would read it out loud, she would say the N-word. And you know what, I should have told my aunt. My aunts were in education. They were both English teachers. My aunt Ruby was an English and drama teacher. My aunt Rika was a reading art English teacher. And I should have told them, but I had aunts that they didn't play no business. They was gonna go up there and because my aunt actually protested about a book that my sister had to read in like honors English. It was like The Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad, and that was a mess. And the Black students, and not even just the Black students, but even some white students in our class was like, I'm not reading that, and they opted out, and she was able to read something else. So I had an aunt like that, but I just I was well quiet. I wouldn't go say nothing, but I was clearly a white woman saying that. It was uncomfortable. And then again, you have 3 Black students, because I always was used to being like one of 3 or even one of one of students that were Black in a classroom. But yeah, she would say that out loud. But this book, I mean, girl, still can't stand it. I don't understand it. I don't want to understand it. And I know the new like translations and the new versions, they took out the N word, and I think they're saying boy or something like that. But the fact that Mark Twain, I mean, come on, dude. Like, girl. So I don't like this book. I can't stand it. Okay. And this actually is the book from ninth grade. Yeah, I actually have passages highlighted and stuff like that because I remember when we did take the like exam, we were able to use the book. So yeah. And then lastly, in ninth grade, I read Romeo and Juliet. I actually really like Romeo and Juliet, so I've only read two plays by Shakespeare. Okay, 10th grade year, I think we read 3 books. Now the first one I don't have, which is another Shakespeare. We read Taming of the Shrew, and I actually really did like that. And I remember we watched a movie with Elizabeth Taylor. The second was Of Mice and Men. You know what? I like this. I remember when I read it in high school, I actually did like it, and I really liked the movie. Girl, Lenny just, oh my goodness, Lenny always takes my heart. I like characters in movies that have special needs. I just like them. I like the innocence about them. You know, they're so sweet, and you know, Lenny didn't mean to do what he did. And I remember the ending used to always get me. I understood why George did what he did. And then lastly, we read Night by Eli Wiesel. This is amazing. This is about the Holocaust. So sad. I mean, clearly it's a Holocaust. He has one scene where his dad literally dies in his arms, and the way that he wrote that is unbelievable. Literally feel like you were in that concentration camp with him, holding his dad. I really did like my reading in my sophomore year. And then I just realized I don't think I have the other book that I read in sophomore year, which is Lord of the Flies. Hated that too. Them little ugly, rambunctious boys that's lost, you know, in the what? Wild or whatever, and how they sodomize that pig and all that. I'm like, oh Lord, that just, I will never get over that. Never get over that. I remember we watched a movie of that too, and I'm like, oh my goodness, why in the world is that required reading? Why? And also too, why is Lord of the Flies a masterpiece? I will never understand that. I hate that book. Hate it with a passion, okay? I hate it so much I don't even have it. And the reason why I have Huckleberry Finn is just basically for nostalgic sake, because I do like to, you know, see what I wrote when I was 15. But that's basically it. But Lord of the Flies, cannot stand it. I would never recommend that book, okay? All right. Now, let's go to our junior year. Junior year was a really good year because I had a fantastic teacher, Miss Heglin, and Lord, just loved her. I love the way that she would start off a book. So the first book that we read in 11th grade was The Great Gatsby. One of my favorites. Love The Great Gatsby. I mean, this, I agree when they say American like masterpiece. This is a masterpiece. I mean, Jay Gatsby. Oh my goodness. And Daisy and Tom, and oh, love it. Now I like the I remember we watched the Robert Redford version. That one, all right. I mean, I'm a fan of Robert Redford. Love Robert Redford. Even now, he looked good as an old man and a young man. But I really did about two years ago. I watched the new version with Leonardo DiCaprio. Perfect. He was perfect as Jay Gatsby. He embodied that. I love that. And I even love how they incorporated like the modern, you know, takes, you know, because they had like Jay-Z playing in the background, but the way they did it, it just, they navigated it so well. So I would really recommend the newer version that came out a couple years ago. But I mean, come on now. This is a masterpiece. Love it. Love it. And then we read, which, oh girl, now don't like this either, The Catcher in the Rye. I don't think I finished in ninth grade, not ninth grade, in 11th grade, I didn't finish this book. I didn't finish the end part. I think I just read I had like 30 pages to go, and I just didn't finish it. And I remember I got a B in that class. No, I didn't like it at all. It's I wouldn't say at all, but it don't do nothing for me. Okay. It don't do anything for me. So that was my junior year. We only literally read, yeah, those two books, because after that we I took ACT, and we did like prep, and then I took the ACT. My senior year didn't read any required literature. I had to take an expository writing class, and the only thing that we did, I remember in that class, is we had to watch The Other Boleyn Girl and then write a report on it. And I really did enjoy that. I liked that instructor. And I actually really did like The Other Boleyn Girl. It's a really good movie. It's deep, but it's really good. College, went to Washtenaw Community College, and then I transferred to Oakland Community College, where I got an associate's degree in liberal arts. And then I transferred to Central Michigan University, my first community college, where I read Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl. I was taking an African American literature class, which was taught by a Jewish woman. I digress. And this was on her list. And I was like, oh my goodness, I literally just read that like 2 months ago and really did like it. Then after that, we read Octavia Butler, Parable of the Sawyer. And I had never, at that time, had never heard of Octavia Butler, didn't know anything about it. The only Black literature I read on my own was Maya Angelou, and then I remember Toni Morrison, because I started off late. I was not a reader. But I remember reading this and actually really did like it. And I remember Lauren, I think that was her name. So yeah, that is what I read my freshman year. So yeah, that degree is in liberal arts. Then I went to Central Michigan, and my degree is in sociology with a concentration in youth studies. So I didn't read any literature, like I didn't have any like assigned literature. Well, I did, but they were like in textbooks. I focused on, at Central Michigan, was like sociologists, like, you know, Karl Marx. And then since my concentration is in youth studies, I had to do a lot of courses on human trafficking. What else? Courses of what was another course I had to do? Interaction with youth, and you know, things like that. But I remember heavily I had to do 2 courses of human trafficking, because in Michigan, that is one of the states is that's one state that is like heavy on the list. So yeah, I did that. And okay. And then I did take, because I needed some electives, I did take an African American studies class, which is taught by a white man. And I think we stopped during the Reconstruction, I believe. And we just had assigned reading. He didn't assign any literature. I do remember we had to pick like a time in history. And I did Nat Turner, Rebellion or whatever. So I do remember that. I didn't have a lot of required reading in college. It mainly was, you know, you have to write a lot of papers. I do remember my junior year of college, I had a fantastic professor at Central Michigan University named Dr. Amanda Garrison. I remember we had maybe 3 class periods where we focused on the Black Panther Party. And we watched this fantastic documentary. Oh, if I can find that documentary, I'll link it down below. So good. But them students did not know anything about that at all. It was just, I remember sitting in that class like, dang, y'all don't know our stuff at all. It was like, are you kidding me? But yeah, girl. But yeah, that was my high school / college required literature. It tickles me now that the fact that I am like an avid reader and girl, read so many books, because did not read books in college, did not read books in high school. Like, girl, it was like pulling teeth. As you can see, and especially in high school, no Black literature. Not even women literature. Just what? To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. That's it. And I know after I left high school, my best friend's brother They, you know, were younger than us, and they required for sophomore year A Raisin in the Sun by Lorraine Hansberry. So I'm like, well, that's an improvement. But I like that play. Don't get me wrong, and clearly it's a masterpiece. But you have a predominantly white school that is going to read about Black people struggling, okay, and living in Chicago in that one apartment with what, 2 bedrooms, and what Walter does with that money. But that's the perspective they get. You know what I mean? Um, you know, it's like, girl, they need to dabble in Harlem Renaissance where you got blacks, you know, that had things, or even look, black elites. We talked about that. They need to dabble in that literature, because the fact that, again, you have a black family struggling like that, but it's like, you know, you got to start somewhere. So yeah. But yeah, guys, that's it when it comes to this video, when it comes to my high school and college literature. Girl, as you can see, still don't like the books. Okay, I think out of the literature I liked in high school, this was my favorite. This was my favorite. And really, though, these two were my favorites. Oh, and then I did like in high school, I actually did like this. Now, as an adult, just these two, especially this. So yeah, guys, that's it, and I'll be back with more black books. Bye.